It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lipman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping to crying to potty training to choosing a preschool and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lipman.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world you might be. I am so happy you could tune in to Baby and Toddler Instructions. Today is Wednesday, August 19th, and it's a live show. And you know that what that means? If you have a question, comment, or just want to say hi, call us at 877-864-4869 anytime during the show. I love callers. But if you are not listening live, you can always go to my website, mybestparentingadvice.com, and you can contact me from my website if you have questions or comments. And by the way, remember, the podcast of the shows are available 24/7. You can find them on toginet.com, iTunes, Stitcher, and also, again, mybestparentingadvice.com. I've been doing my wonderful shows for over 5 years, and I have had so many great guests, as I have another one today. So you can pull up the podcast on any of your devices 24/7. Great thing to do when I go to the gym. I listen to the shows, or if I take a walk, of course. I'm in Arizona, and it was 117 last week. I'm still not going to complain. Know what? We don't have snow. Anyway, you can always listen to the podcast, so feel free. Love my guest. Today's show is going to be so much fun. My guest will be with us in just a bit. His name is Jesse Fortin. He is the master hair color god, as we like to call him. And we are going to talk about everything hair, especially if you're a new or expectant mom, you know what, or just a woman. Our hair changes constantly, and especially if you've just had a baby, you know, sometimes your hair falls out or it's thinner. I hear moms say all the time, my hair's falling out, my baby's 3 months old, is it going to stop? So anyway, I will welcome Jesse in just a bit. There was one recall this week, and it was from IKEA. It's called the Patrull Nightlight, Patrull Nightlight. The nightlight's plastic covering can detach and expose electrical components, posing a shock. Yikes, that could be scary. Anyway, if you do have a nightlight in your child's room, put it up high, especially if you have a toddler. I mean, when they're new babies, okay, you can have it a little lower. But once they start pulling themselves up, take that nightlight and move it up. You know, sometimes you forget to turn things off. They get very hot. And if you have this one from IKEA, they can get a shock. So we want to keep those little ones safe, and you can go to my recall page on mybestparentingadvice.com. I keep it up to date every week. I will be adding this at the end of the show because this just showed up. Excuse me. And if you have anything that's been recalled, don't try to fix it yourself. I know I'm a broken record. I say it every week, but don't try to finagle it and fix it yourself. I have the phone numbers and the email and the website information on my site. They will either send you a new product or they will give you a refund or they'll send you a part. Because you know what? If things are just not safe, you don't exactly know how to fix them, and sometimes you can make it worse. God forbid your little one gets hurt. So on that note, that was one recall, good, only one. Also, if you've been listening to the news lately, there's been another big push for parents about safe sleeping, and it's called the ABCs. The sight of a baby sleeping peacefully is heartwarming to parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, and anyone else. Yet the lives of many babies, unfortunately, have been cut tragically short as a result of being put to sleep in an unsafe place or position. So, you know, just like choosing to wear a seatbelt that can protect you all the time from a life-threatening accident, choosing to follow these ABCs of safe sleeping can protect your baby the one time he or she could be suffocated. A is for alone. Always let your baby sleep alone, never in bed with another person. You know what? Especially if you're a new parent, you get into such a sound sleep and you could roll over on the baby. The baby could get wedged under your pillow. If you want your baby right next to you, Get a porta crib, a co-sleeper, and put it right next to your bed, but not in bed with you. That's A for alone. B is for on the baby's back. An infant should always be placed on his or her back to sleep, not on his or her stomach. I know parents will say my baby sleeps better on their tummy, but they found that the incidence of SIDS as well has been decreased greatly since we had the Back to Sleep campaign. So always put your baby on his or her back. And C is for crib. Always put your child to sleep in a crib with only a firm mattress, and make sure that sheet is tight-fitting. Don't try to put a bigger sheet and tuck it under. Again, you know what? They're little. They don't have the neck control, and if they get themselves up in a corner or where there's something bunched up, that just isn't safe. Also remember, don't ever put any blankets, stuffed animals, those heavy quilts or toys in the crib. They're really cute, I know. A cuddly blanket is so cute to put on your baby. Get them a sleep sack. There's all kinds of sleep sacks out on the market. And pick one. It has a zipper. You put your baby in it. You can put their arms in or out. Again, there's all different types. Also, swaddling. You can swaddle your baby, but again, don't put anything else around them. It's just not safe. So, the campaign has been around for a long time, the ABC campaign. And again, you'll see it. Again, they're doing flyers, they're doing commercials, because we always want parents, grandparents, expectant parents, aunts, uncles, siblings, whoever is going to be putting that baby to sleep. Everybody needs to know the ABCs of safe sleeping. And it only takes a few seconds to do this, and you might just save a life. So those are the ABCs of safe sleeping. Also, speaking of babies, I have to share this with you. It just makes me laugh. On Babbel.com, there was an article on advice wipes by Tommy Tippy. We all use tons of wipes when you have a baby. It says, you know what they say about opinions? Everyone's got one, and everyone else thinks everyone else's stinks. I didn't say this. Babbel.com did. When it comes to breastfeeding versus bottle feeding, organic versus whatever's in the fridge, who cares? They're not going to eat it anyway. We think it's officially time to agree to disagree on all things that really don't matter so much, as long as you have a healthy, happy baby at the end of the day. And the baby products manufacturer, Tommy Tippy, seems to agree. The company recently released an ad for their new line of baby wipes called Advice Wipes. And they're made out of recycled paper from baby advice books and magazine articles. And I sure hope my books aren't in there, because I have good advice, common sense. Anyway, seriously, the baby wipes actually exist, but there's a catch. They're a limited edition for special distributions to promote the Parent On theme, which aims to give parents the confidence to put away the books and trust their instincts when it comes to raising kids. So if you recently overdosed on well-intentioned but totally unsolicited parenting advice from friends, family, neighbors, complete strangers you met in passing, and you're really totally over it, then you can try to get these advice wipes. And I have to say, I've written 3 books, and I have hundreds of tips to help, and their advice, and yes, I know they work. Everyone doesn't work for every baby, and I say this because every baby's different. We're all different, and I try to provide my common sense tips because you've never been a parent before, and sometimes you don't think to do certain things. So you don't have to throw the book out, but again, I agree with them. You know what? Use your instincts. We're very intuitive, and try something. If it doesn't work, try it for a couple of days. Be consistent, and if that doesn't work for whatever issue you're dealing with, then try something else. So anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. And last but not least, before I welcome my guest, I always love to share something from my books. So today I want to share something from Help, My Baby Came Without Instructions. I have a chapter called I'm a New Mom and Don't Know What to Do. Survival 101, Learning How to Take Care of Yourself, which goes just along with today's theme with my guest, Jesse Fortin, who will be with us in just a bit. So a couple of things I want to share with you. When you're a new mom, you're exhausted, and we are the last people we take care of. And we walk around with dirty hair, and we walk around not taking a shower. And you know what? You don't have to do that. You have to take care of yourself. You know that saying, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy? If you take a few minutes to care for yourself, which means number one of my tips, every time you feed your baby, drink a glass of water, iced tea, whatever it is you drink, stay well hydrated. If you're hydrated, you'll have more energy, you'll feel better. That's tip number 1 from my book. Number 2, I have lots of them. When your baby takes a nap, take a nap too, even if you're not a napper and you can't sleep. It's great to just sit down for a few minutes and close your eyes. You know, you'll be really surprised. You may fall asleep. And don't be afraid you're not going to hear your baby. Once you have a baby, your hearing is just a little different for 18 years. That I know moms can attest to that. Also, you know, if you can't go to the grocery store alone, pick a time when your baby has just been fed. Don't pick a time and think, well, I have 15 minutes, I have to hurry up, and then the baby needs a feeding. Do it when the baby's been fed. Better yet, get daddy or the partner to watch the baby and go yourself. And when you're there, buy yourself a special treat. Buy a candy bar. Buy some kind of magazine or trashy paper, whatever you like. Do something for yourself. The other thing is, a good cry sometimes is all you need. Transitioning into motherhood is kind of tough, and feel like crying, have a cry. You know what? Then have some water, and then have your special treat, and I guarantee you'll feel better. So those are tips from Help. My Baby Came Without Instructions, which are available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. They're also on Audible. I'm going to be putting them on Google Books, and you can always go to my website, mybestparentingadvice.com, and purchase them there. So we have just a few minutes before the break. Let me tell you about my guest today. His name is Jesse Fortin. He's been a professional hairstylist since 2002, and his passion for hair, this is really interesting, began when he was a little boy growing up in Vermont, and he had horses, and he would spend hours grooming these horses. And he would braid their tails, and one time he came across this picture of a horse's tail that he braided and put flowers in it from his mother's flower bed that really made him happy. I hope it made his mother happy too. Anyway, he loves to transform people's hair and give clients a look that complements them from inside out, and he's great. I go to him, he analyzes your hair. You have a consult first. He really looks at you. He loves for you to take pictures, and he will be so honest and tell you, you know what, I can do that, but let me tell you what may work. He'll bring out books, he'll bring out colors, and especially if you're pregnant and you just don't like your hair, if you've just had the baby, like I said at the beginning, he will counsel you on the great products to use, so you do not have to live in Arizona to be able to speak to Jesse, and you can always listen to the show because we're going to talk all about that. And his slogan is, your hair forever changing, your journey is his destination. And it's true because, you know, as women, we're never happy. We cut it short, we want it long. We have it long, we want it short. We try to change colors, and we do all sorts of things. So I am so excited. Let me welcome Jesse to the show before the commercial break and say good morning. Hi, Jesse. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you doing, Blythe?
I'm great. I'm so excited you can be on the show today. It's funny because last night I did a baby class at Babies R Us, and when I was talking about you in the show, all the women there, and they were pregnant or they had just had their baby, they were all shaking their head. I said, how's your hair? And one woman said, it falls out. And one woman said, it's so thin, and I don't know what to do. I just had the baby, and I don't have time, and I don't know what products. So after the commercial...
Well, I hope she's listening today then, because I got plenty of things to talk about.
Oh, you know what? Well, hopefully we won't run out of time. After the break, when we come back, we're going to talk all about all those things and more. And I want you to talk a little bit about the horses, because I have to tell you, one time I took a class and I had to groom the horses, and their hair is so beautiful. And I'm not a horse person because I'm small, and they see me and they think it's time to eat grass if I'm riding them. Right. So, but I did try to groom them, and it's the most relaxing thing to groom a horse. And I can see, if you're a horse person, how doing that will really spark your interest, because they are just something beautiful. But we're not going to talk about horses today. We're going to talk about hair. So when we come back from the commercial break, we will be talking to Jesse Fortin. So please stay tuned.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
This is Uncommon Sense for Leaders, a forum for exploring leadership from the intellect, the heart, and the spirit. Whether you're a leader now or aspire to be a leader in the future, you owe it to yourself to learn about the big ideas that have shaped the careers of compelling communicators, masters of influence, and highly effective leaders. Uncommon Sense for Leaders. Tune in to hear thought-provoking ideas on every aspect of leadership. You can expect dynamic discussions with special guests, quick tips you can apply immediately for better results, and the tools you need to take you from where you are to where you want to be as a leader. Are you ready to crack the code for achieving unprecedented results? Then join the host for Uncommon Sense for Leaders, Catherine Carlisi, every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the All Business Radio Network.
Finally, a show that supports women who are in the midst of a transition in midlife. The show is Second Wind. Here's what certified coach, author, and host of Second Wind, Joyce Buford, wants you to know.
It's so empowering for women to hear about other women and their accomplishments.
We all need cheerleaders, someone who's on our side.
Second Wind is that program to help women connect with other women, hear other women's stories.
In a stressful world,
Find power in those stories.
learn to discover your passions and joys again. Create the life you want to live to the fullest. Join us for Second Wind with Joyce Buford, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Central, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. The hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Oh no, my hair isn't bouncing and behaving. What should I do? I'm going to go to my guest, Jesse Fortin. He is a great hairstylist, colorist, and I have him as my guest today because our hair always changes, and if you've just had a baby or you're pregnant or the hormones are all over the place, you know that it doesn't work well for your hair sometimes. Plus, we're women and men, too. Jesse, quick question. Are men a lot like women? Do they want a different style if they actually haven't lost their hair? Do they come into you and say, shave my head, or I want it a little longer here, or is it just we women are never quite satisfied? Maybe?
I think men definitely come in and ask for changes occasionally. I think probably less often than women do. I think a lot of men tend to be scared to, do drastic changes all the time, but I encourage it, that's for sure. Otherwise it gets boring for me.
Well, and you can always put color in it on your head. So let's talk a few seconds about the horses. Was your mom upset when you put the flowers on the horsetail?
You know what? It's actually funny because she's the one that took the photo I found. So I think she enjoyed the fact that I enjoyed her flowers so much.
Well, I hope she's listening this morning.
Yeah, I hope so too. I told them all about the show, so hopefully, Yeah, horses definitely was a big part of my life.
That's pretty interesting because all I can say, and I said it before, it's so relaxing to groom a horse if you're not scared, and the horses know. So they probably knew. They probably saw you coming and going, oh, new hairstyle,
yep,
new tail
absolutely.
style. So normal hair has a life cycle. Can you tell me how that works? Because we're constantly losing hair, and that's normal, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. So kind of what happens in general, hair goes through basically three major stages of growth. You have what's considered to be an anagen stage, which is sort of your growing phase of hair. So that generally lasts between 2 to 7 years. And then from that point, it goes into the stage that we call catagen, which is basically sort of a dormant stage where the hair is kind of done growing and it's just kind of hanging out in our hair follicle. And then, from there it goes into the telogen phase, which is basically where the hair actually starts to shed out of our hair follicle and our skin. So after that happens, it sheds out, and then, it re-enters the phase of growth and stuff.
So I put you on the spot. Do you know how much hair we lose a day? I read it once, and I meant to look it up. Maybe I'll look during the break. Do you know?
Yeah, no, I totally know. We generally shed between 50 strands to 150. It just depends on the person. So it's pretty normal. I think you'll find, like, through research, that most people say, 100 hairs a day, which is a general rule. So that's pretty norm. But that could vary a little bit from person to person.
Sure. While we're talking about this, I do need to share a tip that's really important because we do lose our hair. And when you're changing your baby's diaper, you're putting your head down, and a lot of times your hair falls out. Many times, hair can get wrapped around your baby's finger, their toe, and God forbid it's a little boy, it can get wrapped around their penis. And there's been stories where you just don't know. So if your baby is crying and you've gone down the list, hungry, tired, needs to burp, has a bellyache, too hot, too cold, I have a whole list in my books of what to go down, and the baby's just really cranky and you've checked everything. Look at their fingers and toes, and if it's a little boy, look in their diaper and make sure one of your hairs is not wrapped around that, because it's almost like a piece of wire if it's long. And I know, unfortunately, some babies have actually lost their fingers, toes, from a piece of hair getting wrapped around there. So, while we do lose 50 to 150 strands a day and it's normal, make sure if you can't figure out why your little one's crying, check it out. Anyway, let's go back to hair and not pieces of hair.
Right.
So, is our hair always changing? I know it goes through the stages of losing it, but how about when you're pregnant or after you have a baby and the hormones are crazy with us and, everything's trying to get back into sync?
Yeah, hair definitely does change during pregnancy for sure. Kind of what happens, I feel, is like, especially during the first major growing stage of the baby, right, your first trimester and stuff, you'll notice a lot of times, like, your hair will feel thicker and longer and sometimes more shinier. Some women, may notice that their hair tends to get more curly or get straighter or what have you. So basically what happens during pregnancy most of the time is that your hair actually goes into more of the anagen phase of growth, and you're not actually shedding it out quite as frequently. So, I've had a lot of clients through the years that have told me that, man, my hair is so much thicker, and this is, like, driving me crazy because I'm not used to having this bulk in my hair and whatever. And it's basically because they're not shedding out as norm. So that kind of goes to the point of, like, afterwards, after pregnancy, a lot of times women will notice that they lose a lot of hair. And it kind of freaks, I think, most women out. But that's pretty norm because at that point your body's recycling and hormone imbalances are kind of evening out, and then you start shedding again. So that's the bulk of, what happens most of the time.
So what can you do when you notice all these changes? Is there one particular thing? I hear about all these things. Put vinegar on your hair. I don't know. Put mayonnaise on your hair.
Right.
All these wonderful masks, which I'm sure they're great because if they're natural things, I can't imagine they'll hurt your hair, but do they do anything? Or is it not good?
Yeah. I think there's definitely benefits of using mask treatments or things to help condition and keep their health, to keep it healthy and all that. But I think normally, the biggest thing is to definitely speak to your stylist, and kind of ask them about their changes that they're noticing. Some people may have healthier, shinier hair during pregnancy, so they may not need to do as many conditioning treatments. Other women may notice that the hair is kind of dried out a little bit. So if that's the case, then I would definitely suggest doing like a weekly treatment mask or something at home to provide more moisture and stuff. There's a lot to be said for the old mayonnaise trick or putting an egg white in your hair or whatever it may be. And I think to some extent that may help to moisturize a little, but I don't think it's really the best thing for your hair because, I think there's other natural ingredients that probably would work a little bit better than just, putting mayonnaise on it. I know there's a lot to be said for like coconut oils. It's become like a really big thing. I think a lot of people are aware of coconut oil and So the benefits of moisture and all that. I actually have a friend of mine who recently started doing like coconut oil in her hair once a week, and her hair's become very moisturized and extremely shiny. And
does it get
so
greasy though? Is it hard to get out?
Well, I think, if you overuse anything, it could be. I think with the coconut oil, if your hair is extremely, extremely dry, I would just work no more than maybe like, a teaspoon to a tablespoon amount through the mids and ends and just let it stay in for, a half an hour and then just wash it out. It's not like an olive oil that's a little bit thicker, so it would rinse out pretty easily, I think.
No, it's funny you said that because I work in an infant room, and little baby came in and Dad said, I'm sorry her hair's so greasy, but she had a little bit of cradle cap and we put olive oil on her hair. And we can't get it out. We've washed it like 3 and 4 times. And it's so funny. This little girl's adorable. She's got blonde hair and it was like grease stuck to her head. But at least she didn't have a cradle cap, and it will come out. Eventually it will come out.
Right.
But coconut oil, that's really a good tip. Coconut oil works for so many things. I love it as a moisturizer. Not that I smear it all over my face every night, but,
right.
We live here in Arizona where it's so dry, and coconut oil is really amazing. You'd never think to put coconut oil on your face, but I'll tell you what, it works. Just don't go out looking like coconut oil. And it smells good.
Right, absolutely. And I think sometimes, it's like just little simple things that you can do to change up stuff. Like skin and hair go so hand in hand. I think, Blake, you and me living here in Arizona, right? I mean, we definitely notice dryness more than other places probably. And so it's, we're always starving for moisture somehow.
Oh, yeah.
But the flip side of the coin, because it's a little more dry, a lot of times our hair behaves better, so it's kind of a catch-22, I think, in a lot of ways.
Well, I think doesn't it depend on the person? Because I know sometimes if my hair is like a little more dirty than usual, it works better for me, but that's my hair.
Right.
So I think it
absolutely
must depend on the person. What about how many times should you wash your hair a week? I used to wash my hair every day. When you're young, you wash your hair every day because you're going out and you want it to look good. How about when you're pregnant or after baby or when you're, that age?
Well, I think generally the general rule of thumb is to wash your hair every other day. It's interesting because reality is a lot of people overwash their hair. And by overwashing your hair, if you're a daily shampooer or, it's interesting, a little while ago you mentioned men. I find that a lot of my male clients tend to wash their hair twice a day, in the morning and then after they go to the gym.
Wow.
Yeah. And, my biggest advice is to put down the shampoo. You really only need to wash at most every other day. If you can go 3 days, even once a week, that's even better. The reason being is, the more that we cleanse our natural oils off our scalp and sort of, mess with that normal scalp flora, then we start drying our scalps out. Thus, our scalps produce more oil a lot of times, and then we complain of, oiliness, or my hair always gets so oily or it's dirty. And, in reality, if you were to just go in and rinse your hair and take your fingers and really scrub at your scalp and, give yourself a nice little scalp massage or something like that, it'll release some of the, debris that are, that's on our hair, but also just our old dead skin, and then we feel clean that way. But it's kind of, I think, funky for people to get used to just washing every few days, but definitely a really important thing. And I think, when you're a new mom, you don't have a lot of time to care for yourself, right? So maybe it's not
you're
once
giving,
a week.
right. You're giving new moms permission. We're going to have a commercial in just a few seconds. So you're giving new moms permission not to wash their hair every day. It's better for your hair. And you know what? When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about product and shampoo and making big changes because there's so many things on the market. And I always wonder, how often should we change our product? Or if you find something you love, should you stick with it? So we're going to be talking about that when we come back. And if you live in Arizona and want that great massage when you get your hair washed, go visit Jesse. So we'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more help, For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, oh, I need you.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Gerasi, Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Gerasi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Gerasi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Everybody, everybody.
It's words you never heard.
Are you particular about your morning coffee? Well, you're not alone. Beethoven was quite a bean counter, as he always demanded exactly 60 coffee beans used in each cup. Guess he really didn't like slumgullion. That means weak coffee. Some people can't seem to get enough coffee. The French writer Voltaire purportedly drank 70 cups of coffee a day. That amount of caffeine would make anyone wadgety and brickety. Coffee beans actually aren't beans at all. They're fruit pits, which makes coffee the most consumed fruit in the United States. Ever heard of cowboy coffee? Apparently, it was made by putting ground coffee into a clean sock, immersing it in cold water, and heating it over a campfire. Then they would drink it out of tin cups. So what's the word for a small tin cup? A pannikin.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and Words You Never Heard has been brought to you by the Bariatric Surgery Center of Dallas.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I am so excited to have Jesse Fortin as my guest today. He is the master hairstylist, colorist. He's great. I just love him. He's great. He's so much fun, and he's terrific with hair. If you have a hair question, you can call us, 877-864-4869. We're up to halftime at the show, and Jesse, before the break, we were talking a little bit about coconut oil and that type of thing. What about products? You know, I always wonder, should you change your product every month? Or if you like something, do you stick with it forever because our hair changes? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably, you know, when you're looking at product, there's so much stuff on the market, you know, and I hear all the time from clients, you know, like, man, what makes your professional product better than this other thing I'm using? Or, you know, I found this certain product at the grocery store that I really like, and what's the difference, you know? I think it all depends on, for one, the condition of your hair, you know, and what you're doing to it daily. Like if you have no color in your hair whatsoever and you only shampoo once a week and you don't blow dry it and you barely run a brush through it, chances are your hair is going to be in a lot healthier state. I think the reality is majority of women particularly are coloring their hair a lot and blow drying it out straight or, you know, curling iron-ins and all that kind of stuff. So it goes through a little bit more havoc, I guess. And so I think at that point, it's important to use a lot more thermal protectants and more moisturizers to kind of give back to the hair, you know, what you're taking out of it. So
does price necessarily, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but does price necessarily play a part? Just because something's more expensive, does that mean it's going to work better on your hair, or what about that?
Absolutely not. You know, I think that my biggest thing that I always struggle with is, you know, some professional products are outrageously expensive, and I think sometimes it's because of the name. You know, we live in a society where name brand is everything, it seems like. But I don't think, you know, good quality hair care should cost a fortune. You know, there's definitely, you know, a difference between, you know, taking something from the salon versus something from, like Walgreens, in terms of the chemical components that are put together and the quality of the ingredients. But I don't necessarily think that just because it costs $50, it's any different than a $20 shampoo.
Is there one ingredient that you should never put in your hair when you look on the bottle? We always hear this is detergent, this has alcohol in it. Is there one ingredient that's not good for your hair, even a couple that you should look for not to use?
Not necessarily. I mean, I know that a lot of research has been done around sulfates, and that's a big thing. A conversation that I have with a lot of clients is, I thought sulfates are really bad for hair. The reality is a big difference between, good sulfates and bad sulfates. And again, it's kind of like the difference of a quality sulfate versus something that's not of quality. So I think it's more about the actual quality of that ingredient and how it's working on the hair. So just to take that as an example for sulfates, if you were to, have a really cheap, poor grade surfactant, using a shampoo, it's going to strip your hair a lot more than something that's more of a moisturizing, kind of surfactant. So that's part of the reason why professional products cost a little bit more typically, is because they have a better quality of that ingredient to do the job still, but to do it in a more mild way.
Well, it's interesting because I bought a shampoo that had no sulfates in it, and when I wash my hair kind of gunks together. It's not soft, like a moisturizing shampoo is. And
right.
Not to say that this product is bad, but sometimes, we see things at the natural food stores, and again, just because they're there, that doesn't mean they're great either. As you're saying, everybody's hair is different, and I guess we just need to try products.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing with that, too, is as people, we're really big into smells, too, right? So, it's funny. I have one client particularly I'm thinking of right now, and, I've gotten her on multiple different types of shampoo over the years, and every other month, she wants something different. She's big about the smell. And
it's not me. Tell everybody it's not me.
No, and it's totally not you. 100% not. And I just laugh about it, though, because I make recommendations based on what I'm seeing and how the hair feels and all that. And, if the smell's important, it very much is. But after a while, I run out of options, So I think it definitely, just because I may recommend something for one person one day, it may not be the right fit for them later on down the road, especially if we change the hair color, because the hair will be more compromised if we're making changes. So,
hey, you know what?
Yes,
Buy her some perfume. I have to say, though, as a woman,
I probably should. A little Chanel No. 5 or something of that nature.
But I have to say, and also when when you're in a store that sells beauty supplies, I always open up the shampoo and smell it. And, most women do that because we don't want to put it on our hair if it doesn't smell good. Like perfume.
Yeah, I think most men do that too, Blythe, truthfully, So I think it's one of those things we just have to sort of figure out what makes sense.
We do want to smell good. What about when you're pregnant? The ultimate question, is it safe to color your hair when you're expecting a baby?
Well, here's the deal, is I think I get asked that a lot, of course, by women and stuff, and I think my perspective is that it's 100% safe to color your hair still. It just depends on how it's being done. And what I mean by that is, there's a big difference between getting your hair highlighted and keeping chemicals off the scalp so it's not able to be absorbed as much as having color placed directly on the skin. And a lot of research, research that's been done, there isn't really solid evidence that coloring your hair during pregnancy is going to harm the baby. It's just more about the first trimester because that's so important for, nutrition and growth and, everything that's happening in that first trimester that majority of doctors will recommend not coloring during that first trimester. But another perspective I have, too, with it is as a stylist, I've worked with women over the years that have been pregnant stylists. And, they're working with chemicals every single day during their pregnancy versus, a client coming in every 6 weeks to get the hair colored. So my perspective is it's okay. It's safe to do. I just wouldn't do, color your hair more than every 6 to 8 weeks, and maybe instead of having color applied directly on the scalp, maybe it's applied in a way that's just barely off the skin, so it's a little less apt to get absorbed into the skin.
And you always check with your doctor. If you're not sure, you can always check with your doctor. And you know what? If you don't have morning sickness, you'll be glowing, so nobody will notice that your hair maybe isn't as blonde as it always is or whatever you're doing. What about, while we're talking about that, what about when you have a client that comes in and they're so excited, they're pregnant, and they want to make a really big change with their hair. They want to cut it short, or they want to do something, different. What do you say? I mean, it's a good idea. I know it's personal, but what do you say to your clients that want to do that?
Well, the first thing I say is, are you sure? And I say that all the time with big changes, truthfully, regardless of the situation. I have to fully understand, what's happening. I think changes is good. If you're going through and having a big change happening in your life, being pregnant, right, that's a huge deal, and you want to have a big change, go for it, as long as you understand that as your body shape changes, that hairstyle, if you went short, it may look a little bit not quite as appropriate because you may have a little more rounded face, So I think it's important to take that consideration. I think, again, it's that perspective of, me as a stylist, working with you to look at the whole picture, I mean, just because you want to have a really funky short haircut during your pregnancy, I'm not going to say no if you really want it. But at the same time, we have to think about the fact that you may be a little bit more rounded in the face. So, I'd want to make sure that I balance that out proportionally so it doesn't, so you don't look too much like a Q-tip, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think the other perspective of that, too, is as your hair's changing during pregnancy, we have to make sure that, you understand that new texture as well.
You know what? And it's funny, too, because I know you like pictures, but when we bring pictures in and go, I want to look like this, or, you know what, I used to have this hairstyle, and I know I've done this before myself, and even with you, and what do you think? The thing that I so appreciate is when a hairstylist is honest, like you are, and, says, doesn't just go, okay, I'll do it. That they're really honest and say, have you thought about this? And you look at your client's face, and you said, you say you have this shape of face. Let me show you some other pictures. It makes me nervous through the years. I've been to many through the years before I was fortunate enough to find Jesse. And so many times I've had my hair cut and I walk out and go, why did I ever do that? I wish somebody would have said, don't do that. Your hair isn't the right texture, or it's not going to work. So, you know what, I do need to say, whoever your hairstylist is, make sure they're honest and you're comfortable. And they'll tell you if something looks silly. I'll share a really funny story with you. I went to somebody for years, and she's since moved. And one of the last times I went to her, we were talking about my hair, and I have bangs. And she said, when you used to tell me to cut your bangs like this, I always thought of the little Dutch boy on the paint can. And I thought, I've been coming to you for 6 years, and you didn't tell me that you were sending me out to look like a paint can? And I thought, it's good you're moving, because I don't know if I'd come back. So, honesty, ask your hairstylist, tell me the truth. Do you really think this will look okay? And hopefully they'll say, yeah, I think it'll look great, or maybe we can do, adapt it a little bit for the shape of your face. But anyway, I thought I would share that funny story. So I'm glad that you're honest. And we're going to have another break in just about a minute. So why don't, at this point, tell my listeners where they can find you if they live in Arizona, or if they want you to teach a class in another state. So tell everybody before the break, where can they find you?
The best thing you could do is you could find me online at www.scottsdalehaircolorist.net. You also can contact me via phone. I definitely take, phone's an option. So 480-459-1948. Or you can email me at jessymfortin@gmail.com.
And you can find him on Instagram, and you can find him on Facebook. And you know what? He's a great person to ask questions to. And if you live here, make an appointment. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
This is Uncommon Sense for Leaders, a forum for exploring leadership from the intellect, the heart, and the spirit. Whether you're a leader now or aspire to be a leader in the future, you owe it to yourself to learn about the big ideas that have shaped the careers of compelling communicators, masters of influence, and highly effective leaders. Uncommon Sense for Leaders. Tune in to hear thought-provoking ideas on every aspect of leadership. You can expect dynamic discussions with special guests, quick tips you can apply immediately for better results, and the tools you need to take you from where you are to where you want to be as a leader. Are you ready to crack the code for achieving unprecedented results? Then join the host for Uncommon Sense for Leaders, Catherine Carlisi, every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the All Business Radio Network.
It's words you never heard.
Don't you just hate it when you push on a public door that clearly says pull and end up running into the glass with your head? Of course, I'm assuming that I'm not the only one who's done that before. Hey, push, pull, they each have 4 letters. Did you hear about the would-be thief in Chicago who tried to break into a bar, but after jimmying the lock, a webcam captured him haplessly pushing for several minutes, even though the door's sign said pull? What's a word taken from the German language that means the pleasure derived from the misfortunes of others? Schadenfreude. The literal English translation is harm joy. There's another word in German that means to feel embarrassed for someone else. It's called Ohrenscham.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and Words You Never Heard has been brought to you by the Bariatric Surgery Center of Dallas.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. The hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. We are up to the last quarter of our show, and I am here with the wonderful Jesse Fortin. He is a master colorist, stylist. You know what? He's the color god as far as I'm concerned. I love what he does to my hair. But while we're talking about that, let's talk a little bit about hair texture. Many times I've heard new moms say, you know what, I had really straight hair after I had the baby. Now I have body and it's curly and it's not my hair. Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does happen. I can't really give an exact explanation as to why. It's kind of a mystery in some ways, but what, some women notice is that your hair does grow in a little bit thicker and fuller during pregnancy, like we were kind of talking about a little while ago. And with the texture changes, as our body chemistry changes during, growth of a baby, sometimes that can actually go in and start changing some of the follicle structure on our scalp as well. So, I think a lot of times, if you grow in a little bit more curly or a little bit more wavy and stuff, there's times where that'll last for just a short amount of time and then it'll revert back towards, what you used to have. But I think the other thing with it is, as your hair isn't shedding out as much hair, you end up noticing, a difference that way as well. So.
And it's really nice because if you have thinner hair and then it's thicker. Also, what about visiting you? Does it make your hair stay healthy? It used to be you need to go to the hairstylist every 3 weeks. And in my mom's age, she used to go once a week and put the rollers in and the whole business and the curling iron and all of that. And things have changed so much. What do you see now? What do you suggest?
I think it's best to at least get trims every 6 to 8 weeks. And I think it's more important about what you're doing at home versus just what I'm doing for you. I think, years past, there wasn't as many amazing products for people to maintain the hair with at home. So coming in that weekly set, like you're saying your grandma used to do, or what have you, that was important because, our industry had more of those products available at the salon, but now there's so much more that you get home. So I think it's more about just having the right product recommendations and things to keep your hair healthy at home. That goes a long ways. And there's, one of my favorite sort of like tips, I guess, is to pick up the hairbrush. Get in the habit of brushing your hair out every night, before you go to bed. There's that old wives' tale, brushing your hair 100 times a day, and part of that is to help stimulate the blood flow on the scalp and to help to, distribute natural oils through the hair as well. And that's really good, easy maintenance to do at home.
Great tip, and it is easy maintenance. Also, I have to ask this because I got this email question way after I did my video for this show. How do hairstylists really feel when you switch? Do you guys get upset if we go to somebody else or we don't tell you and we're all embarrassed? Women do that all the time. We want to change. Do you go talk about us in the back room?
I think that's a great question. I'm glad someone's asking it because, I think what I've tried to have done throughout my whole career is to build relationships with people. And I think like any relationship, it's going to work out for as long as it's supposed to work out. I think as a stylist perspective, the best advice I can give is if you're not happy with a service or if you need a change, just to be honest with us as though we've been honest with you about your hair needs. I think it's almost heart-wrenching a little bit if you had to, taking care of a client for 6 years and all of a sudden they fall off the face of the earth. I'd rather know part of the story and to see if I can, grow with you better to help serve your needs, or if it was a situation where you're like, I really just don't think this is working out. I'd rather know that versus not seeing you again. So I think that's if somebody just says, you know what, I need a change. I just want to do this. We all need changes sometimes. Yeah.
Is that okay with you? It's like going to a doctor for a second opinion, sort of.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, and again, I think as long as it's one of those things where, like, we're talking about it, then that's cool. But we're all human, right? Like, I'm not going to, I'm not there to be like, no, don't go to somebody else ever. I'd rather basically get the opportunity to help take you through that change and see if I can do that for you. But if it's something where I'm not offering that change to you to begin with and you're just getting bored with what I'm doing, as long as I kind of know that and can, try to elevate that differently, then that's great. But if I can't, by all means, if you need a change, like sometimes the stylist needs a change from their clients too. It's like,
I'm so happy you said that. I'm really happy you said that. You know what? Honesty is the best policy in my book anyway.
Absolutely. That's what I always say. If we're not honest with one another, I can't help you. So. Okay,
so I won't be there next. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway. So do you have a favorite hair tip?
Yeah, like I said, I think my biggest hair tip is picking up the brush, and then also, less is more. Less is way more, especially with you new pregnant moms, or new moms in general, whether, you're still pregnant or not, relax about the hair. Put it up in a ponytail. It's okay. If you're going to be home running around and trying to get used to having this new living, breathing being in your home, the last thing, you should stress about is having to worry about your hair being perfectly blown out. Just relax and take it easy, and, it's okay to have it pulled back. It doesn't need to be perfectly set.
I think that's a great tip because, we can't fit it all in, but I do have to say on the other part of the spectrum, if you do have, a partner, a dad, whatever, to watch the baby, there's nothing better that first time you get your hair done after you have the baby, because it's about the pampering. You're so busy taking care of the baby and the house and everything else, to have somebody else pamper you and do your hair, and you feel so much better. So, but again,
absolutely.
Do what works. Do what works. So we talked about chemicals. Anything else you would like to add about hair and pregnant women? What about babies? Babies are born either with hair or without hair. Then it's a certain color, and it usually falls out in the back, especially now that we put our babies to sleep on their backs and it looks like a circle with no hair. And it comes in a different color.
Absolutely. It's interesting because, again, it's all about just the natural evolution with our hair growth and stuff. So, it's kind of like, I think about baby hair similar to us having baby teeth, right? We grow in a certain teeth struck shut first. They fall out, and we have adult teeth,
Right.
Obviously, teeth is a little bit different because we permanently keep them after. But hair kind of is similar in that way. We're born with, maybe a lot of hair at first, or maybe it's just a little, and then that kind of sheds out your baby hair, and you start growing into what you're supposed to have. But hair actually goes through a life cycle anyway, like about every 7 years or so, where our texture changes and our follicle may change a little bit as well. So it's kind of an interesting evolution to see happen anyway. I think with babies, again, less is more. Probably just gentle, brushing of the hair is good. I wouldn't say, really having to worry about rough scrubbing on the scalp to clean or anything like that. Just being really mild about it. One thing that I think is really interesting is I see this a lot, especially with little boys, I guess, is moms, not wanting to cut their hair, not wanting to get rid of the curl, if you will. And I always find it funny because, once you cut that curl off, it is true to some extent. It's not going to be curly again sometimes because that was part of what that evolution with their baby hair was. But don't be afraid to trim the hair if it needs it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And you can save it, too. It's really interesting because when my grandson was born, he's 3 months old now, he had darker hair, and we thought, okay, brown. And then all of a sudden it got this reddish hue, and my daughter was freaking out, going, oh, no, you can't have red hair, even though red hair is beautiful. And now, it's funny, I was looking at him yesterday, and on the top it's blonde. So, we're thinking blonde hair, blue eyes, who knows? We'll see. It doesn't matter. He's adorable. Babies are wonderful. Moms are great, expectant moms after you've had the baby, and dads, you know what? Just be comfortable with your hair. Jesse, I have to say goodbye. We're up to the end of the show, so all your information will be on my website, mybestparentingadvice.com. Thank you so much. This was lots of fun and so informative, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. You have a great Wednesday.
Sounds good, and thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks so much. We'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye.
What a fun and informative show. I just love Jesse. He's a great person. He's a great hairstylist. And I look forward to going there, not just for my hair, but to visit with him. So I hope you enjoy whoever you have as your hairstylist, and you got some great information today if you're pregnant, if you've just had your baby. Because I know I learned a lot about the hair cycles and everything else. Next week, I will be talking to Dr. Howard Ferran. He's a terrific dentist that will be sharing his expertise to help your little ones and your families have healthy mouths, even before that first tooth erupts. He's going to talk all about, dental infections and teeth and baby teeth and, should you clean the gums? So much to talk about when you have a baby because, of course, they all get teeth like we have. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, Pinterest, Google+, LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. I have 2 pages on Facebook, My Best Parent Advice and Baby Instructions. Please like my pages. Excuse me. And I put tips and pictures. I love posting, and I love helping all of you with my tips and my tricks and, sharing a little bit of humor. Excuse me. Also, I started doing something called Periscope, which is part of Twitter, where I do a short video, and it stays on the site for 2 days. So take a look at that, too. It's really fun. And I just posted a new blog on my site, mybestparentingadvice.com. It was part 2 of Mommy Play With Me. There's some fun activities to do with your toddlers. They're quick, they're easy, and if they're not in preschool and it's just still August and they're bored after a long, hot summer, you'll love doing these things, and it's great to spend that one-to-one time with your little ones and as they get older. So I'd like to leave you today with some hairstylist humor. No great hair appointment starts with, I've got a coupon. And finally, of course I can give you that haircut, but you still won't look like Kim Kardashian. So I am so happy you could tune in today. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Again, take a little time to enjoy each other and make sure you laugh once a day. And I will see you next week. So have a great day. Bye-bye.